Alive and Well STL is a presentation of the St. Louis Regional Health Commission and RareGem Productions to build a healthier St. Louis. Power up with the positive. Learn more at OneRareGem.com. That's OneRaregem.com. The Regional Health Commission works in partnership with regional health sector advocates and stakeholders to improve healthcare access, reduce health disparities, and improve health outcomes for the uninsured and the underinsured in St. Louis City and County.
Alive and Well, STL.
Meet Montrice Williams, mother, author, triumphant victor over childhood challenges, career and educational obstacles, even a victorious 100-pound weight loss. She discovered within a mindset, strategies, and an all-out resolve, a resilience to be alive and well.
When stuff goes wrong, I just don't sweat it anymore.
This is producer Jade Harrell. We'll be right back.
What can you do to help someone be alive and well?
Every person in your life matters, and what you do is when you ask them, how are you, you really care about the answer.
You can be their hope
simply
by having
up
the
to
heart
person, the
to
people
hear.
that know, the people that don't know, hey, how are you? And they're not ready to listen to that answer. And so the people who respond to those questions usually say, okay, good, or fine, because they know that someone else is not ready to hear that they're having a terrible day or a wicked mental health month or year. When you are interacting with people around you, get off your phone, look people in the eye, and when they say they're having a bad day, instead of going, I really have to get to that next meeting, sit down, hear them, really hear them. Don't just listen, hear them, hear their pain, and offer assistance in the form of a hug, a smile, an embrace, or all of the above.
You could be their hope simply by having the heart to hear. Everybody should be alive and well.
Learn more at aliveandwellstl.com. Alive and Well, STL.
Sometimes you got to fight to be alive and well. Meet Montrice Williams.
I have a whole drawer full of just stuff.
Okay, a drawer.
A drawer full of this is what happens when life happens drawer.
Oh, tell me more. Okay, those sound like coping strategies. Talk to me about the drawer.
So I've learned, I think it started in my 30s, that there really is no such thing as control. And the sooner you realize that, the easier life gets. You can have a plan, which I recommend for everybody to have a plan. Your main plan, a plan B, a plan C. My niece will tell you that I have a plan E, F, and G too, because that's just how I roll. But at the same time, when stuff goes wrong, I just don't sweat it anymore. And I got to that point by becoming tired. It's like, why am I constantly stressed out about things that happen that I can't control? The stress doesn't feel good. The being out of schedule doesn't feel good, but what can I do about it? Mm-hmm. And when the answer is nothing, then you go inward to that place of calmness and realize, okay, so what's the next step? Mm-hmm. And just move forward from there. So in regards to my drawer, there are times when I plan my meals out, and a lot of times it just doesn't work out that way. You come into work and something needs your immediate attention. So I have a drawer full of the sealed packed tuna, raw nuts, fiber bars, fruit cups, just anything so that I can at least consume something that's not out of the vending machine and full of trans fat and empty calories and things like that. So I keep the drawer stocked for times when I can't control what's happening, but I can control having something at my disposal to eat.
That's powerful.
So even though I've transferred that from just the eating perspective to just overall in life, things happen, people die, fires happen, accidents, just different things. While you're planning, other stuff is happening. Sure. So when you weave that throughout your life, you're more peaceful. I have awesome sleep.
Yeah.
I have friends who can't sleep. And I don't understand it because I've always had awesome sleep. Even through pregnancy, I slept well.
Right. That's good stuff.
Well and long because I let it go. Mm-hmm. It's like letting go and realizing that you don't have control are like the key things. And the sound of not having control sounds enough to give you some kind of anxiety, but it doesn't. It's peaceful for me because I know in the end I'm going to be okay. Whatever it is, I'm going to be okay. So when you're grounded in that, knowing that you're going to be okay no matter what, the rest is kind of irrelevant.
Sure. Why was control and being out of control, things happening, what did that do with you? What was the impact of that for you previously? Why did it matter so much?
When I was young, I remember thinking, we grew up in the projects.
Okay.
And that wasn't traumatic because everybody around me was in the projects. When I went to school, there was no, this person is more well off or this person is, poor. We were all in the same boat. But I remember we had one educator, she's deceased now. Her name was Etta King. She was a little unorthodox, and this was at the time when they had straps in class. Okay. And the problem was people talking and chewing gum, but you wouldn't dare buck up to a teacher. Mm-hmm. But anyway, she harped on education and how that was a key of having like a much better life with more options. The more you know, that's the thing that can't be taken from you no matter what. And I remember that particular day when I went home, I decided this is not going to be my story. Don't get me wrong. I'm from East St. Louis. I'm very proud of where I came from. It's just like there is more to our world than just where you were born and raised. Mm-hmm. And I thought, okay, I can do this. But it's like there are going to be obstacles because it's just how life is.
How old were you when you felt this way?
9.
Wow.
9, almost 10. Is that how old you were in the 4th grade? That was my 4th grade teacher. Mm-hmm. She was very impactful in a lot of ways. We had a writing assignment. That's when I first learned that my writing was different. We had a writing assignment and she called me to her desk and she said, "Did you write this?" And I said, "Yes." She's like, "Really?" "Yeah, I'm nervous," because I'm like, "Oh Lord, does she think I cheated?"
Right.
And she's like, "This is phenomenal." And you'd have to know Miss King to know that she didn't throw around words like phenomenal very often. When she gave you a compliment, you knew that it was true because she would have a way about her to let you know exactly where you were. If you were disappointing and she expected you to rise up to the occasion or not, or if you were phenomenal and she expected more because she realized your potential was more. So to hear that from her, I was like, I didn't quite understand what she was talking about. It was just a little story about going to the zoo and having to turn around because it started raining. But I wrote it in a way that had lots of imagery and whatnot in it. And so she said that to me. She goes, "I feel like I was there." She's like, "Keep that." And I did. I kept that and that conversation with me. And now I'm 40 years old.
Right. But that then affected the way you wanted things, the plans that you had for your life? And is that when things went contrary to your plan, started to create stress for you?
Sure, because I knew that I wanted to go to college. I knew there were no funds for me to go to college. I also knew that I loved school. That was where I got my esteem from, excelling at school, and that I could have scholarships and different things like that. And I really wasn't worried about going until we got to filling out the ACT. And at the time, my parents were divorced and my dad was living in Illinois. My mom was in Michigan, and here I was in the area with my uncle. So there's this section, it probably isn't like that now, but at the time it wanted to know the state that your parents live. And I'm like, well, which one? Or do you really want to know where I live? Because we're talking about 3 different states. So I can't answer that question. So then you skip it. Then they wanted, taxes. It's like, okay, but I'm not in either household. So I don't know how to answer that either. And then you skip it. And it got to the point of, they were asking about household income. And it's like, well, which household? It was so frustrating to me.
Yeah.
I can't complete this form because it doesn't speak to my life. And at the beginning, sorry.
Don't apologize.
I already felt like, gosh, I don't belong because this form isn't for me.
Right. Which then attaches the future, my access, my hopes, my opportunity, all begin with this form. You are the first person to articulate that for me, too.
I was sitting in Melville High School. It was after class, trying to fill out this form for financial aid. And I got so frustrated. And everybody's gone, or so I thought. And I just let it out. I just cried. Because I thought, I got to figure this out. I don't know what to do with this. I don't know of anybody that can help me because here you are, part of the desegregation program where you're expected to fail because you're not stupid. Even as a kid, you do see the news. Okay. So do you go to your counselor? Does your counselor understand? You know, that's the question.
Yeah.
So you don't really want to open yourself up like that, but you know that you don't know enough to get through this hurdle.
Sure.
So you have to figure out who's going to help me. So while I'm sitting there trying to figure out what am I really going to do, my math teacher hadn't left yet. His name was Mr. Henschel. Mr. Henschel gave me the blues, you hear me? But he's the reason that I love math to this day. He was my teacher for algebra, geometry, just all of it. And he really loved what he was doing. It was infectious how much he loved math, and he loved making sure you understood. Well, he was there, he came in, and I didn't hear him, and he touched me on the shoulder and I almost jumped out of my skin. He goes, "What's wrong?" So now I have this question of what's wrong, and it's like, where do I even start? And do I even want to tell you? You know, because we have a certain educator-student relationship. You know me within the confines of homework and tests. You have no idea where I came from. You have no idea where I go home to. I don't know if you understand what it's like that my day starts at 5 a.m. I don't get home until later that night because I was also working a job. So I would leave school, go to work, get home at 11, study on lunch, and start it all over again. So
he had no idea.
He had no idea. I didn't share all of that with him, but I did say, I'm having difficulty filling out this form.
Good for you.
Because my mother lives in Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
my father lives in Illinois, and I'm here. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what they want. And so he directed me to an English teacher there, Mrs. McVeigh. Between the two of them and a counselor is how I ended up at Southeast in the first place. They helped me through the form. She invited me to her house for the weekend, drove me down to SEMO against my will because I didn't want to go to SEMO. I thought I was going to Howard. I had planned to go to Howard.
Right.
I kept losing paperwork, and they couldn't find this or that. And then I remember one day my uncle was like, "You're going where?" I'm like, "I just need you to take me to the airport. I'm going to D.C. He's like, "Well, who's in D.C.?
Right.
"Well, that's where I want to go to school." He's like, "Well, I heard you say that, but how are you going to get there?" I had already had money for a ticket. I had figured it all out in my mind, but all he saw was, this is my sister's 16-year-old daughter talking about going on the other side of the country alone, and I can't let that happen. You know? In his effort to protect. But at the same time, it was frustrating for me because I felt like it was stifling, like, oh my God, I know you're scared. I'm not. What I'm scared of is not trying. Sure. What I'm scared of is ending up still here. Not that here is a bad place. I don't mean physically.
Right.
I meant in mindset.
Wow. How powerful. And these little hurdles, big hurdles, coming up against you here.
Oh my gosh.
You know.
Yeah. I think those were really defining moments for me. Just getting to school was rough. Then you get down there and you see all these people with, you know, all this support group. And here I am knowing that I'm $600 in the hole and I have to figure it out before December. And here it is, July.
Right.
I don't know.
As a student.
I don't know what I'm going to do. But I have to figure out something.
It's interesting how much of what you've known in your life had unclear outcomes and direction, but control was a big piece. You've lived from what I hear, most of your existence in the throes of life and life circumstance and others. But today I see you strong and beautiful and vibrant.
You know, I would often say to my nieces and nephews as they were coming up that your circumstances have nothing to do with your goal.
Is that true?
It's very true. It's very true. I didn't say it was going to be easy. That's the thing. I say it's simple in that you just keep moving forward. Knowing that you can't control the course. You can't. You can't control the fact that there are going to be delays and there are going to be setbacks. And I think that's the difference from in the very beginning, a girl in high school, to the woman that I am now, is that when I do make a plan, I know it's not, you know, before it was I'm hoping and wishing that there are no setbacks and that there are no delays. Now it's I know that there are going to be setbacks, disappointments, and delays. And just know there's comfort in just knowing that that's going to happen.
Wow.
And that as it comes up, I can't control it. And I'm comfortable with being uncomfortable about the setbacks and the delays.
And here's
but at
what
the
I
end
will
of
do
the
in
day,
response.
I'm still going to do this. For example, the last book that I wrote.
Let's talk about it. Author Montrice, you are now on your second book.
Yes.
Your second children's book no less, offering for the world Cannon's Crash Course.
Yes, that's my baby. That is my baby. I'm going to tell you how that book started. I received a call from a very good friend of mine on a Wednesday afternoon. And she said to me, I came across this contest and I think you're perfect for it. They want a short children's book that's an easy read aloud book for the younger crowd. And I said, I got excited about it. She goes, there's only one catch. I said, what's that? She said, the deadline is Friday. I said, which Friday? She's like, this Friday. I said, you mean like in a day and a half from now?
Today.
And she's like, yeah. She goes, but I thought if anybody could do it, you could do it. And I laughed. I thought to myself, I don't think I could do that because the thing is, you can't make it too long. It had to be under 300 words. Mm-hmm. And there's all these guidelines and parameters. And then you tell me it's Friday. So I laughed and I said, okay, send me the link or whatever information you have and I'll take a look at it as I'm on my way out the door to do something else. So that Wednesday night I came home, I looked at the guidelines, I called her up and we laughed about it. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I said, but I'll attempt it.
Good.
So I sat down, wrote a bunch of stuff, about different things that kids may learn but have difficulty learning and came up with all kinds of concepts and nothing felt right. So Wednesday night I went to bed. Thursday morning I get up early and I'm sitting there and I'm trying to write something else and nothing's happening. And what I come up with is cheesy to the point that I don't like it. So it's like, okay, this is probably not going to happen at all. Thursday night after work, I get home. Again, I'm trying to write. I'm trying to concentrate. And, then you got to do the family thing.
Yes, you're a mom.
So that they don't feel like orphans. Wife, exactly. Right. So I had to put on my mom hat and my wife hat, and then they settle down. And again, I'm sitting here and I'm trying to write. And nothing. So finally, I was like, you know what? This was a good idea. Yeah, I'm glad she brought it to my attention, but I can't do it. 2 a.m., I wake up out of my sleep. I kid you not. And the concept and the story was just there saying, write me. Not only was it there saying, write me, it was in verse. I couldn't write fast enough. Wow. I was sitting there and I'm just writing and I'm laughing and crying because I'm like, wow, who knew all of this was here? And sometimes that happens. Even now with the book that I'm working on, the character sometimes demand to be written and you just have to stop and do it. It sounds like kind of crazy for people who don't understand writers, but it's like you have a whole world in your head. So anyway, back to this book, I sat up and I'm writing and I get to the end and I have 3 different endings. So I wake up my husband. By this time, it's about 3:45. And I'm like, you won't believe it. He's like, what happened? He thinks something's wrong. There's nothing wrong. I'm like, I finished the story. He's like, you woke me up because you finished this. He's like, okay. So he sits up and turns on the light. And he's like, you wrote this just now? And I said, yeah, can you believe that? Mm-hmm. Because it wasn't just a story that rhymed. It was a story about perseverance. It was a story about overcoming and forgiveness and compassion and the ability to keep going even when things aren't going your way. A lot like what we just discussed a little bit earlier.
In your life.
And it was wonderful. And the thing about this book is it illuminates an all African-American presence of our males. It's about a young boy that teaches himself how to ride a bike. And the assistance and encouragement that he gets comes from another African-American male in the community. In a time now where that entire image is threatened to be just wiped away altogether. Mm-hmm. So that was amazing. And all this time I was looking for an illustrator. It took me 2 or 3 years. And someone said to me, you need to go down to Sweetheart
Bakery.
and look at the art on the wall. That guy, he's local. His name's Kababi Bayak. And I'm like, what? His name's Kababi Bayak. Right. So I go down there. He wasn't there. And I walked in the bakery and I looked at that woman on the wall with the fierce afro whose eyes follows you all the way around the cafe. And I just cried. By now, you probably think I'm just a crybaby, but I swear it spoke to me. I'm like, that's him. Like, I hadn't even met him yet. I'm like, that's him. And I'm looking and I'm like, I hope he's not out of my budget. I hope that he's available and I hope he likes this project. So I met him. And so he was hesitant because he doesn't really do children's illustrations. He said he wasn't going to do them. And I kept talking and he goes, well, let me read the book. And I said, well, I don't have a book with me. I said, but I could tell you the book. He goes, tell me about the book. So I started telling him, as if I was reading it, and his eyes got big, and he's like, you memorized the book? And I said, yeah, I wrote it. Like, I did. He goes, but you memorized the book. And I said, yeah. Like, I didn't think that was a big deal, but he thought that was a big deal. And that's when he told me about his project he had just completed, 365 Days of Dad.
Yeah.
So it meshed so nicely with what he was already working on, painting an image of day of Black fatherhood. And then here I come with the story about, our Black boys and being encouraged and persevering, and images of fathers who are helping other children, even if they aren't their biological sons, to where he was like, I can't say no to this. So he took on the project, and I am very pleased. And
beautiful.
It just all came together.
It's beautiful.
And I love it. And other people love it.
Yeah, we do. The idea of it, it's beautiful. It's beautifully written. It paints an entire story of community and, like you said, perseverance throughout the challenges that come your way. And you've had your fair share. You've triumphed over so many. And one in particular that I'm so proud of is when we met, it was your 100-pound weight loss naturally. 100 pounds. Many of us struggle with a couple to 5 even.
I still struggle with it.
100. Okay. Well, share a little bit about how that victory. I still struggle with it.
Let me tell you something. So after I hit that 100-pound mark.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. There's a whole change of mindset. Some of it, I think, was probably invincibility, maybe even a little bit of arrogance.
You had something to be proud of, really.
But I went a little overboard with that, and the whole celebration. And so all of a sudden, I found myself in a position of gaining the weight. So then with that comes panic of, oh, my God, like what's happening?
Gaining some weight?
Yeah, I gained some of it. So you look back and you're like, oh my God, I can't do this because the loss was so high profile. And now you're teaching a spin class at Club Fitness.
Way to go.
So you have to, not whatever you're doing, you have to go back to the basics. Well, then I got thrown into this really negative cycle of hurry up and get it off, which you should never hurry up and get it off, to where I was disconnected from my why. Like, why are you doing this? And it wasn't about me anymore. It was about the image, which was surprising for me because I typically don't care about what other people think or say. But I got caught up in that, and that I started gaining. And now, mind you, I've been working out consistently since that day till now, but I gained over 40 pounds of that back. And when it came back, it was different, meaning that I had gained a lot of muscle, so it didn't look the same. But nevertheless, I felt it and it was there.
Sure.
Recently, a few weeks ago, a friend of mine from Dallas sent me a message and he said, I don't see your workout posts on Facebook anymore. He goes, I hope you haven't fallen down, but more importantly, if you have, I know that you can get back up. And so I'm calling you out to do that and to make it transparent because so many people are inspired by you. And I read that.
Was that helpful?
It was helpful, but at the same time, it was like, So I read that and I reached out to him and I said, yes, you are correct. I have fallen down, like over and over again, because I had had small successes of getting back on track. It was just an up and down, vicious cycle. So I said to him, yes, you're right. I have fallen down. I said, but what's with the whole, transparency thing? Like, I could just get back on track. He goes, but it won't be as powerful. And he said, you have no idea how many people you will inspire who have gone through the same thing to know that, okay, it happens. It's actually a part of the journey. You can get back up and get back on track. So I said, okay, I'll do that. I'll do that. At the time, I wasn't ready. I'm like, but I'm going to give you a date of when I'm going to do it because I have to wrap my mind around it first. I said, he asked about the book. I said, that's coming out March 26th. So on the day I release the book is the day that I will also release all of this from me too and show exactly where I'm at and be transparent about continuing on to where I need to be. When I did that, I went back to my blog and started blogging again, and that was so freeing. It was just as freeing to do that as it was the first day that I started.
How wonderful.
It really was. So I had to let him know. I said, you know what? This was very powerful. And I feel free. I don't feel that heaviness, even though, in fact, I went to my class, my spin class, and I said, listen, this is where I'm at. And I know you guys love the class, and some people are always amazed because I don't look the look of a spin instructor. But then you take the class and you forget all about that because it's like, oh my God, this is one of the best ride I've ever had. I can't believe you worked us that hard. And part of that is overcompensating. I'll admit, you know, I have to make sure that I am on top of my game because people don't expect me to be. So I make sure that you are injury free and that you are thoroughly worked by the time you leave there. So I told them and they were so inspired. And so a group of us started training for a 5K and we finished that this past weekend, and then I was challenged to do a half marathon, and I laughed. I was like, what? Like you, when I first mentioned it, I'm like, 13 whole miles. I'm sorry, 13.1. And I looked at the schedule, and every single week, it's like, I could do that.
It opened up for you.
I can totally do that. So
where is Montrice today through the trials? What can your story illuminate for our listeners about living and being in your own truth with or without the obstacles and the heavy bumps?
A couple of things. Don't ever be afraid of who you are. Be exactly who you are, even if that stands out and is nothing like anything else that you see. Be exactly who you are without apology. And it may not look like the person to your left, to your right, in front of you or behind you, and that's okay. Be authentically who you are out loud and on purpose and unapologetically. That's number one. Number two, no is a complete sentence. And sometimes you have to say no. I do a check, and the check is, am I okay? Am I okay physically? Am I okay spiritually? Am I okay emotionally? And if any of those are a no, then my number one priority is to make that a yes before I do anything else for anybody else, or otherwise it's broken. It's broken and it's incomplete. That especially includes my kid, my husband. Those are the ones that are so close to you. And we have this thing, and I think it's cultural, where as mothers, we tend to martyr ourselves for our kids. You do any and everything for them. There's nothing that you wouldn't do for your kid. And that's fine when it's within context and within control, because that too can be dangerous. If you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be around to take care of your child, your family, your husband, your wife, your marriage. So you have to make sure you're okay. You have to make sure that you're constantly filling up your own cup, or you won't have anything to pour out at all.
Sure. What are some strategies you use to fill your cup? Give me a couple.
I have to have downtime. I have to be by myself, whether that's like in the house with them in another room. Sometimes I've actually had to go to the bathroom and lock the door.
Amen. I know that one.
And it's like they have radar. You know, once that door closes.
She's heading for the bathroom. Yes. Move out. Engage all.
Where is she? Are you okay? Are you there? Mom, I had a question. Baby, what time's dinner? You know, all of a sudden, even the dog. One time she poked her head in. I'm like, really? What do you want? Like everybody out.
You too? Right, right.
So on a regular basis, I really have to download and clear the cache and just unplug and really get connected and centered to who I am and where I am. I have to do those things. But sometimes we're running on autopilot so much that we don't know, and we've disconnected from our very selves, and all we're doing is functioning and moving and checking off checklists and doing the things that we're supposed to do in our titles and in our roles to where we don't know who we are anymore. So I make sure that I always connect with Montrice and make sure that she's okay first.
I love that.
You had me up in here crying.
I know, right?
It's okay to be fully present and feel it all. I think sometimes we're afraid to feel. I know I've been there. There have been times when I've compartmentalized things because I was afraid if I took the lid off, number one, I didn't know what was in there. And I didn't know if I was going to ever be able to close it back up, because once that dam breaks, how much devastation is there going to be?
Right, jacked up.
There's never devastation, though. What it is that you release to where it's free flowing and you can be more authentically who you are. It's a wonderful thing. It's scary at first. A friend of mine said to me, she had recently lost a lot of weight too. And once she got to that point, she just had an entire bucket list of stuff that she was barreling through. And one of them was jumping out of a plane in tandem. Now, I don't have that on my bucket list. I have no desire to do that. But what she shared with me was the hardest part of jumping out of that plane was letting go. She's like, when you're in the free fall, it's exhilarating. She's like, I can't explain it, but it's exhilarating. But the hardest part is letting go, because then you're committed and you have to see it through. But you're in the safety of that plane, which you think is safety, because again, there's really no such thing as the plane could fall. But it's all mental about where you think you are and where you think your safety lies, and we really don't know from day to day. The next moment is not promised to us at all. But she said, letting go of what she considered her safety net and jumping into the unknown was the most exhilarating moment of her life.
Wow.
And we have lots of moments like that, even if it's not like a literal plane that we're jumping out of, whether we're jumping into a new job or a new situation or leaving a bad one, just change in general. Sometimes those are our planes to jump out of.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I needed that.
Me too.
Right? And that's something?
Me too.
Share with, I consider it an honor to be in this space with you.
Oh my gosh, duly so.
Share with us where our listeners can connect with you and learn more, and most certainly to get this book. Are you blogging yet?
I'm blogging again.
Okay.
I've been blogging since 2011. My blog is andthefatladysings.wordpress.com. Yeah. That was my blog, so I picked it up again. There was a gap there of when I got too arrogant, like I talked about earlier. Also, my website is www.montrice.net, and I'm also on Facebook under Montrice the author, and the same on Twitter. So
I love it. I
love connecting with my readers. I do.
We have to have more conversations like these. Very empowering. Montrice Williams is an author, a mother, a wife, a teacher, a marathon runner, and a beautiful person to know. And I just thank you for sharing with us on Alive and Well STL.
Thank you for having me, Jade.
We're excited to have you join us with the Alive and Well STL movement. Alive and Well STL is now a community-wide effort focused on reducing the impact of stress and trauma on our health and well-being. The research is clear. Stress and traumatic experiences are making many of us sick, and together are the leading cause of poor health outcomes. Take 5. Visit us at aliveandwellstl.com to find out where you are emotionally. Become an ambassador. Reach out and help build a supportive community. Learn resiliency skills. Get the help you need. Share your stories. Hear others. And learn more about stress and how it affects us. That's aliveandwellstl.com. Alive and Well STL is another positive production of RareGem Productions. Thanks for listening.